more Epstein files have dropped, and now everyone is in complete panic.
Everybody panics! Oh my God!
Causing a lot of confusion and misinformation all over social media. And after spending days of digging, I found some really shocking truths and even something that just might actually help Taiwan. So, 如果你是台湾人或是金铺，准备你的爆米花 and a huge bottle of whiskey to coke, because 真的是代志大条。People online are completely losing their shit when it comes to the Epstein files. Because real talk, there is a lot of disgusting and hideous things inside. It actually took me a minute before I gathered up the courage to even look and see. But when I finally did, I realized that there is a lot of misinformation in there. Where some of it is unintentional, a lot of it is intentional. And the result is a massive freak out and panic and PTSD. Now, a lot of this terrible stuff you can actually see on Threads and X, the direct result of a misinformation campaign. But quite a bit is legit as and I even dug out quite a bit of stuff related to Taiwan. So, let's start with the most crazy ones first.
I'd like to add a few other points disclosed by the purported victim. While on this yacht, he witnessed African-American males having sex with white blonde females, all of whom were bleeding during intercourse. He was a victim of a type of ritualistic sacrifice in which his feet were cut with a scimitar but left no scarring. On the yacht, he witnessed babies dismembered, their intestines removed, and individuals eating the from these intestines. He was also raped by George Bush I. Victim disclosed he was escorted to the FBI building by Michael Moore, who is the creator of True Pundit, described by multiple online sources as a conspiracy-driven news website that attempts to paint the FBI in a bad light. Moore has a criminal record as a result of an FBI investigation, copyright infringement. Let me know if you want to discuss the former FBI agent that called this into the head office. Thanks.
Jesus.
Woo, now this one is a doozy. Now, of course, for the sake of YouTube, I've got to bleep a lot of this out and use a lot of code words to explain it. Now, for those who don't know, the Epstein files are broken into several sections, and one of those sections is called the FBI Sentinel program, which is basically for anonymous tips. But according to the AG himself, the majority of these are not verified. So that means basically anyone from anywhere can write a tip into the FBI. Shit, even me can write in a tip like,
"Oh, I saw Trump eating a bunch of rotten oranges while watching 好记者频道. And he actually turned and said, "Hey everyone, 好记者频道 is the best channel ever, so make sure you like and subscribe. It's true."
And no matter how ridiculous it sounded, the FBI would have to write it down and log it into evidence. But again, most of this is not verified, so everybody chill.
Daddy, chill.
Adrenochrome, it's C9H9NO3. This is a chemical compound that is absolutely illicit. It's been around in modern science since the 1930s. You can actually, there's a synthetic form and there's a regular, natural form, which is caused by little kids to get their adrenaline up, essentially, and then extracting it from them.
Now, this clip went super viral on X, and the original was an email exchange between Epstein and a famous movie producer.
All you need is a blood transfusion from the pack, and you reverse the aging.
But someone added in a clip of Movie Jesus talking about something totally different. And here's the thing, Movie Jesus is Jim Caviezel. Now, most of you might know him as the Sound of Freedom guy, but fun fact, he is not a doctor. And what he is talking about is something known as adrenochrome. And another fun fact, adrenochrome is mass-produced commercially everywhere, meaning it is readily available. But here's the kicker, it has no primary usage other than research. Now, what Movie Jesus was talking about comes from a famous conspiracy theory originating from a famous American author known as Hunter S. Thompson. And in his book, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, a fictional thriller where the majority of the main characters are completely strung out on drugs, there's actually a line that says,
"Adrenochrome. You won't need much, just a little tiny taste. That stuff makes pure mescaline seem like ginger beer. You'll go completely crazy if you take too much." I licked the end of the match. "Where'd you get this?" I asked. "You can't buy it." "Never mind, it's absolutely pure. There's only one source for this stuff, the adrenaline glands from a living human body. It's no good if you get it out of a corpse." But the guy didn't have any cash. He's one of these Satanism freaks. He offered me human blood, said it would make me higher than I'd ever been in my life. I thought he was kidding, so I told him I'd just as soon have an ounce or so of pure adrenochrome, or maybe just a fresh adrenaline gland to chew on.
Bruh, Hunter S. Thompson wrote this book while he was completely high out of his mind on LSD, amongst other substances. So this leaves a very big question. Exactly what transfusion was Epstein talking about in that email? Well, if you notice in the subject line, it reads Dr. Agus. It turns out that very doctor went viral over 10 years ago for talking about...
Dr. David Agus is in Los Angeles. David, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie. It was something a cross between vampire and Frankenstein where they took two animals and they hooked their blood supply together for 4 weeks called parabiosis. And it was experiments that were originally done in the 50s that showed mice seem to reverse aging.
And what does it mean for humans?
Well, the human clinical trials, the researchers say, will begin later this year. And the hope is that in these studies, they identified a particular protein. So you don't need all of the blood from the young person. You need that protein that may be able to reverse some of the effects of aging.
Now, this report came out 2 years before the Epstein email, and I'm pretty sure that's exactly what these two were talking about. And here's the thing, just 6 years ago, the FDA dropped this.
The FDA is going on record saying there is no evidence infusing a young person's plasma into an aging body is helpful. Researchers admit there is science to suggest there may be factors in young blood that affect aging and aging-related disease, but stress those are studies done in mice. The FDA says treatment in humans comes without any clinical evidence young plasma infusions are effective. There is also no official regulation on dosing, frequency, or recommended monitoring, and there is always significant risk with any blood transfusion.
So, although this treatment sounds weird as fuck and was backed by clinical science, in the end, not only does it not work, but it's got absolutely nothing to do with that weird shit movie Jesus was talking about, cause it is not Adrenochrome. And the thing is, when you enter in Adrenochrome in the search bar of the FBI Epstein files, there are absolutely 0 results that turn up. So bruh, this is 100% fake news. Chill.
Daddy, chill.
But this next one has a few key facts that will make it sound even more convincing, and one thing's for sure, it will disturb you to your goddamn core. Jesus, this is really disturbing. Now, this actually happened back in 2009 to a Mexican model at a hotel in Mexico. And soon after this video was played to the public, this woman completely disappeared. Now, fast forward to several years later, when the Epstein files finally came out, people started to link her with Epstein because she's a model and she was part of an agency. And Epstein was known to pretend to be a model scout to convince wannabe models to join his network and turn him into victims. So as a result, people believe that Epstein hosted a human meat party. Now, after being disturbed as fuck, I started digging. And there's one key thing that you need to remember. That whole ordeal with the Mexican model went down in August of 2009. But the thing is Epstein was sitting in solitary confinement in a federal prison at that time. So while this girl was freaking out several thousand miles away in a hotel in Mexico, Epstein was sitting in a prison in New York. And there was 0 mention of this girl or this incident in the Epstein files. No paper trail at all. So once again, this sounds like a bunch of people just made this up.
Oh, thank God.
But to be real and brutally honest right now, no one really gives a damn about the victims or the other people in the Epstein files. They only care about one man, Donald J. Trump. What did Trump do in the Epstein files? His name showed up over 5,000 times, so there must be something, right?
Maher stated that his client, Jane Doe, was enticed to cross state lines to visit with Epstein and Trump to perform sexual acts on both adult men at special parties hosted by Epstein. Whispering, Doe was told that this was to further her modeling career and something that she had to do. During the summer of 1994, after her 7th grade school year ended, Doe took a 3-day bus trip from her father's home in the Midwest under the pretense that she would be visiting her grandmother. Doe traveled instead to New York City, NY, in order to start a modeling career. While waiting for her bus home, Doe was approached by Redacted and was urged to return to attend a party hosted by Epstein so that Doe could meet important people in that field of work who could help her break into a modeling career. During the first party, Doe was asked to sit down to her underwear and give a massage to Epstein. Reluctantly, Doe was asked by Epstein to do sexual acts, but she refused. Doe was later asked to massage the penis of Epstein's guest, Trump, with her hands. Muttering, Doe was told that this was what she had to do in order to get a job, and Doe complied. During the second party, Doe was asked to perform on Trump and complied. During the third party, Doe was made to perform on Trump with another young girl named Redacted.
Now this sounded really weird. A dad allowed his 13-year-old daughter to sit on a bus for 3 days and travel several hundred miles across the country by herself? Now, for our Taiwan audience, you might be thinking this is totally normal. Lots of people let their young daughters sit on a bus and go halfway across the country. But that's because Taiwan is fucking safe, yo. This is America. 差很多呢.
You better be careful.
So after this, I did some more digging, and Trump's name shows up more than 2,000 times in the Sentinel section of the Epstein files. But here's the thing. This tip was filed in April and then again in July of 2016. Take note. And then soon after that, they even claimed that they were going to host a press conference to expose all this shit, but just 6 days before the presidential election happened, they canceled it. And the crazy thing is according to this report, the parents had 0 idea about what happened to this girl allegedly at the hands of Epstein and Donald Trump. But somehow she hired a lawyer and was having conversations with the FBI for several months and her parents had no idea?
That don't make no sense.
So to me, given the timing of it, just a few months before the presidential election, this sounds like some Xiao Caihong with an axe to grind who may not even have been a woman sending in a bogus anonymous tip to the FBI because she didn't even give her real name and no one in the FBI actually saw her in person. And for those of you who don't remember, that first presidential election with Trump was a doozy. Everyone was out to take him down. And in the Sentinel section, if you look at the dates of all these so-called tips, they all happen to be filed just within months or even days of Trump's first and second presidential elections. Now, when you go to the other section of the Epstein files, the email and text message threads, there are at least two things that might be true.
Put in contact with an agent named Paolo Sempoli, who worked with ID models. Sempoli was trying to buy elite models with Epstein. Epstein introduced Melania Trump to Donald Trump.
So the original official story is that Trump and Melania met at a party. Trump tried to get her number while he was on a date with another woman and she refused, but ultimately it worked out in the end. But according to this document, Epstein is the one who introduced Trump and Melania as she worked for his agency. Now, if that is true, that would imply that the First Lady of the United States was a sex worker. Now, I don't know about you, but this sounds like something straight out of a movie, yo. And a woman who started out as a sex worker ultimately becoming the first lady of the most powerful country in the world is pretty damn impressive. But here's one thing. A famous author by the name of Michael Wolff made his career off of writing bad shit about Trump. In fact, his best-selling book was almost entirely sourced by one man, Jeffrey Epstein. And it ain't no secret that after Trump kicked Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club, Epstein and Trump became sworn enemies, which is why Epstein said this to Michael in a private message.
I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable play and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or, if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say, Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal, and I'm a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime.
Now, this story might be true. Melania might have been working for Epstein. Epstein might have actually introduced the two. But there's also a big possibility that this is a smear campaign bullshit. But this next bit about Donald J. Trump is way more believable.
Jeffrey Epstein was represented by Alan Dershowitz. CHS remembered Dershowitz tell Alex Ocasta, U.S. Attorney of Southern District of Florida at the time, that Epstein belonged to both U.S. and Allied intelligence services. CHS shared phone calls between Dershowitz and Epstein, during which he/she took notes. After these calls, Mossad would then call Dershowitz to debrief. Epstein was close to the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, and trained as a spy under him. CHS became convinced Epstein was a co-opted Mossad agent. See previous reporting. CHS advised that this was a real collusion story. Trump has been compromised by Israel, and Kushner is the real brains behind his organization and his presidency.
Fuck.
Now, this tip comes from the Sentinel section of the FBI, but unlike those other ones which are anonymous, this actually comes from a human being, which is why it's labeled CHS, or confidential human source. Basic translation, it's a fucking spy. And what this person said isn't really surprising to me, because as we already know, every American president and their administration has been completely compromised by Israel. Don't believe me? Ever heard of AIPAC? Israel is the one thing that both Democrats and Republicans are more than willing to send shit of money to every year. It's literally the one thing that Trump and Kamala both agreed on.
No, you're right.
But the most interesting part of this revelation is that Epstein is a Mossad CIA agent. So I started digging again. What I found took me from disturbed to absolutely mind blown.
I have verified intel from Mossad HQ. Over 40% of the people watching this video are not subscribed and haven't even clicked the like button yet. Take action now.
Nah, but on the real, what I did find was that either Epstein was a Mossad agent or he was being employed by Mossad to focus his efforts on one specific target.
China! China!
No sir, you can't make this shit up. Jeffrey Epstein, the monster everyone wants to avoid, hated the CCP in his bones. And in over 100 messages between him and several people, he was talking about his mission to completely fuck up the CCP.
China, perfect piñata. India's little reported satellite killer changes the cyber game. One belt, one road, needs secure communication. Fun. If you really think China a threat, turn the American teen hackers loose. Unrestricted warfare, American style. Your deplorables need an enemy. China, China, China. We are going to break China. I watched your interview. My China intelligence is that they want a crisis. Maybe stop selling silicon. More when I see you. You don't believe we are at war? We have been for years.
technology, currency, cyber. These old guys ignore weapons unless they fit into a comic book. It's a group of peasants trying to run a world economy. She barely has high school education. Completely panicked when they read through the deal, already leaking oil.
Now this is the most shocking revelation in the Epstein files for me, because all these messages range from 2017 to 2019, way before all the madness of China happened in 2020, and everything he said happened to come true. And that brings us to only one conclusion, that Mossad, the agency that went from BB call to boom boom call, the most feared intelligence agency in the world, is targeting China, and their intelligence is accurate as fuck. So, for Taiwanese, that's pretty good news, because that means if or when China invades, the Mossad is your best friend.
Tight, yeah!
And you need to remember, what we covered in this episode is less than 1% of all the Epstein files. There are over 3 million files that have released, and apparently there is more than 3.5 million more files that have yet to be released. Now don't get it twisted, I am not trying to whitewash a PDF file. I'm just trying to dig shit out and find the things that people want to know. But make no mistake, this is only the tip of the iceberg, because there are a lot of folks who are going to be in a lot of trouble. From Elon Musk, to Peter Thiel, to Palantir, to Peter Attia, and of course, our good friend Bill Gates.
Well, he's dead, so, in general, you always have to be careful.
So, the one true fact that the Epstein files revealed to the world were the true moral boundaries of the rich and powerful elite, which is zero. They have absolutely zero moral boundaries. So, I guess that means we're gonna be digging for a long time. And who knows what other crazy shit these goobers are hiding. So, 准备摸一点爆米花 because 真的是代志多掉咯。
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.